Welcome back to the channel, guys, where I'm turning this 2019 panel van Mercedes Sprinter into a badass adventure wagon. Right, guys, so today I am finally fitting my rear furniture. It's the garage area in the back under my raised bed setup. So on the passenger side, I'm going to house my Goal Zero. I'm going to house my water cylinder, my pump. It's going to have my outside shower hidden in there somewhere. Now, what I will say is I'm using a Goal Zero power bank. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's up here or up there, probably up there. But what I'm going to do is leave enough space, future-proof this unit, so that if someone down the line, final end user at some point says, I prefer all the Victron stuff, if I'm honest, I want 600 amp hours or whatever, there is a cupboard ready to expand that electrical setup. But at the same time, in the meantime, that's extra storage for me. So let's take it away. So if you've watched my channel before, you will know that I am a massive fan of EVOMOTION design. They are a little company based in the UK over where I am. They're actually, ironically, they live about 10 miles, or the company is 10 miles away from where I used to live, which is now 300 miles away from where I live now. It's such a shame because they would have been just round the corner, as are Rhodes Van. They are both in the south of England, which is where I'm from. I'm now currently residing in the northwest. Anywho, if you follow me, you'll know that I am a massive fan of their stuff. Now, a lot of people say to me, could you make this yourself? I'm going to answer all the questions before I get going. Could you make this yourself? Yeah, I could. I have got the skills. I haven't got all the tools necessarily to perform like edge banding and things like that. But of course I can create a kitchen pod or a garage pod. That's well within my skill set. Is it cost effective? Not for me. Have I got the space to do that? No. I'm working here on my garage, out of a garage, on my driveway. I haven't got shelter necessarily. I haven't got space. I haven't got a workshop area. Would it upset my neighbours if I did so? Yeah, probably more than they already are. That kind of thing. So there are so many reasons why I've gone to EVOMOTION. Time, convenience, and do you know what? The cost as well. It's not cost effective at all. Not only with time and space and all of that, but the money itself. The sheets of ply, if Joe Blogs wanted to buy a sheet of ply, I think they're £156 plus VAT, and then you got to get them delivered and all that. The rear section, both sides that I'm fitting today, currently, I don't often talk about price, but this is a company. Currently, today, March 2022, is £660, including VAT. I think I would do that more in timber that I was going to use, the ply boards, before I even got going. So don't know how you do it, EVOMOTION, but I love the fact that you do. Not going to question that. Don't put your prices up. People wouldn't appreciate that. We'll put a link to the product below. I'll show you what I've got. Guys, did you know that the new shape Mercedes Sprinter 907 in the front wheel drive actually has 70 to 80 mil more headroom than all of the other Sprinters? It's absolutely crazy. Also, if when they first come out you thought there was something a little bit weird about the way they looked side on, that's actually because the wheelbase is totally different. The rear wheel, and therefore the wheel arch, is actually about 200 mil further back. That's not an exact measurement, but what I'm saying is it's not in the correct place. Now, EVOMOTION design didn't have a unit ready to go in this shape Mercedes-Benz. I used that to my advantage. I drew them a little picture. I sent it to them. And I said, you know what? This would fit really, really nice. So I have somehow managed to become part of the research and development team. No, I haven't. Nothing like that. But EVOMOTION do not do custom work. Not to the degree that I'm talking about. They may or may not, don't quote me on this, they may or may not alter something for you based on a kitchen pod that they already have, that kind of thing. They are not a custom service. That's how they just turn them out. You kind of look on the internet, You click, yeah, I want that. You choose the colours, you choose the edges, you choose the bands, you choose the shape. If you want to sync, if you don't want to sync, that kind of thing. But they're all about turnover, I believe. Not that I know their books and their figures, but click a button, it gets turned up. They've usually got something that will definitely suit your needs. That's the joy. But they didn't have anything on the books at the moment with these new dimensions. So I, luckily, got to choose exactly where I want everything to suit my electrics, to suit my water. I got to choose the depth. So I've somehow managed to get a custom unit from EVOMOTION. And do you know what? Depending on how it turns out, it's literally sat there. Depending on how it turns out, it may even be available to you guys, or a form that's totally relevant to it. Something along the lines. John, thank you, mate, over at EVOMOTION. He's built this by my design. There may be a few bits that he would tweak if he was putting it to market, but let's get it opened up. I'm going to show you a little bit of it, how to put it together, just the main gist around how Evo assemble their units, that kind of thing, and then I'll throw it in the van, and I'll ask you guys what you think of it. So what I like to do first, guys, the reason I mention that, don't need to point a knife at you, but the reason I mention that I had a kind of part in this design is, A, if it don't fit, that's on me because I gave the measurements, but B, today I've got no instructions. This is a one-off. And that is mainly the point, is people ask me, what's it like to put together, you know. I've got a picture that I gave them, they've designed it, and I reckon I'm not going to struggle at all putting this together just based on what I know it looks like. Once you get it in your head how Evo put their stuff together, it becomes second nature, and I'm going to talk you through it. But the first thing we need to do is get everything opened up, have a quick look, make sure that make sure it's the right colour, and then what I like to do is actually lay some boards down on the driveway. I haven't got a workspace big enough, but I lay the boards down so that my furniture isn't scraping on the driveway itself. So if you've got a big dust sheet, you know, nice thick blanket, anything like that, get it all spread out, see if we can make sense of it. So guys, you may not buy this actual unit. You may buy units similar to it. The idea of this video is to show you the methods that they use in assembling them. So for example, the edges are sometimes, a bit like on the kitchen pod, capped off with, or they're returned with this lovely aluminium extrusion. I'm going to show you how to fit that. So that will be relevant to any kitchen pod through the range, and likewise with the little dowels and the KD blocks and things like that. So even if you're not buying this unit, I'll try to keep it relevant to all you van builders out there. So first thing I like to do, that'd be the second thing, once I've laid it out, is anything that I think is a frontal, so if it's got a little hole in it ready to take a handle and it's edge band all the way round, that's usually the best sign that it's edge banding on all edges, because that doesn't often happen. I push them aside, I get rid of them, because they are the last thing to go on, and you don't want to keep confusing your build as you go. So put them to one side, nice and safe, and then, yeah, basically try and expand it as much as you can on the floor and see if you can suss out where things go. You will have instructions. Like I said, I haven't, but let's go. This is where I hand you over to the time-lapse machine, which is just up there. Tip number one, guys, you've got to trust the kit, yeah? So I've kind of mocked it up together now where it would be. I've been a part of this, so I know exactly what it's supposed to look like. I drew it, that kind of thing. And even I, halfway through it, I was looking here and I was like, these haven't been edge banded. That's going to be horrible. That hasn't been edge banded. You're going to see them. Dig a little deeper. No, that's got a blanking panel. You have to trust the kit. And let me show you another thing. You know, it's a bit like the IKEA or the Lego. Do you remember Lego when you say there's something missing, there's something missing? It turns out you've used that piece somewhere else when you shouldn't. Yeah, chances are the kit is okay. Let me just get this. So you'll look at something and it will have just the corner lopped off like that, and you'll think, why have they done that? You know, what was that all about? They won't do that for no reason. That has been inputted into a computer for a valid reason. You might not know what that reason is immediately, but it will come to light. That is actually to allow that metal trim that I've showed you to go around in the corner. I'll show you when it's in place exactly what I mean. I may even put a bit of B-roll over the top now. Skipping forward, here it is. That's a good idea, well done. And that will lead me straight into tip number 2. When you're mocking it up, if you do choose to mock it up, you might just want to crash straight through the instructions. But I wanted to make sure all was present. When you're mocking it up, make sure, and especially when you come to build it, make sure you check to see if any of it has edge band. So this would have probably worked the other way, because the panel is totally symmetrical. What you don't want to do is get down the line and realise that that's bare ply on the front and you've got to dismantle the whole unit. So check for edges, make sure if it's edge banded, like this one for example isn't, but that's going to have the aluminium extrusion over the top of it. If there is an edge band, make sure it's facing the correct way. Now then, first installation tip. I have gone through this before in a previous video, but back then only my mum and my nan watched, so you know, a couple more people watch nowadays, so I'll start again. With the EVOMOTION kit, you're going to see these holes quite a lot, and you will begin to see them as second nature, as being a certain distance apart. Now I know the amount of times that I've fitted these units together, as soon as I see those two holes that distance apart, that close to an edge or anything like that, I know that's going to take a KD block like that. It doesn't just get screwed in. You use these little plastic dowels, you hit them in with a little toffee hammer, boosh. I use a little toffee hammer like that. You won't hurt the panel. I've done this 100 times. You want to put it on a flat surface. Again, I'll cut to a little bit of B-roll of me putting this in there, but you just bang them in place, and that's basically the equivalent to a wall plug if you were going into brick. It just, because the board is only 15mm thick, you could never get a strong enough fixing with a screw that's like 12mm. So this gives you a really strong fixing. It obviously opens up inside the hole. Absolutely awesome. It means you can't get it wrong as opposed to where you're going to put them. All you got to make sure that you don't do is screw a KD block to one side and then screw it to another panel, and then when you go to put them panels together, both sides have got one, if that makes any kind of sense. So you kind of need to keep up. Worst case scenario, you can undo them, because you can. Once that little plastic dowel is in there, you can undo a KD block, and you can even remove those dowels. If you put one in the wrong place, don't panic, just get a large enough screw that you can hold on to, like a 30mm screw, turn it in a couple of times and pull it out, and it will pull out the hole. Now repeat many times. This is going to lead us onto the second tip, and it's another way of fixing the units together, and that is actually by tongue and groove. Now that is the kind of thing that I wouldn't necessarily be able to achieve if I built something myself. I might be able to make like a biscuit joint or something like that, but that is usually used when it's trying to create strength and rigidity, and it works absolutely awesome. There's two sizes, one smaller than the other, and yeah, like I say, I wouldn't be able to achieve that just here on my driveway, or I could, but you know, with a router, and it's going to be really labor intensive. So basically they will slot into each other, and then sometimes, not on this one because this is just a small shelf, if it's a larger platform, sometimes you then screw through the back of the other unit into the body of this shelf, just so that it stops it from coming apart, and it just gives it that extra strength. Absolutely awesome. Honestly, by the time these are put together, they are solid as a rock. At this stage, I basically have a carcass fully built. I'm going to leave the top off for the time being because I need access lifting my Goal Zero in, that kind of thing. So the carcass is built. And up to this stage, I've used a toffee hammer and a battery drill with a screwdriver bit in. Arguably, you could use a screwdriver. It's a bit painstaking, but tools are a minimum. The angle extrusion that I mentioned before, I'm about to install that now. You will need a battery drill to drill some holes. So basically, you drill some holes big enough in the backside of that extrusion for a screw to pass through. You basically line it up, pump it into the unit, job's a good one. Battery drill, on the backside of this extrusion, there is almost like a score line. I use that to steady the drill bit. You might not be able to see it. I use that to steady the drill bit, and it stops it from wandering, and it's perfectly center of the meat that you're gonna screw to. My advice is, make sure you don't choose to put a screw right on, like say for example where a shelf goes across. You need to put it out in the open enough that you can get in there with a screwdriver or a battery drill to actually install the thing. I also like to stagger them, so because we're fixing to both sides, I put one higher than the other, so that when you try to screw them in, the other screw isn't getting in the way. It will be okay. That's just a force of habit, something that doing shower screens, when they've got the big chrome caps that go on afterwards, I've learnt this the hard way. If you put them perfectly in line, they actually clash with each other. Yeah, it's a trade kind of trick that I picked up. Probably irrelevant here, but that's just what I do. I love this gear. I really do love it. Want to jump in here and say I'm not affiliated with EVOMOTION as far as any monetary reward. Can't offer you any gift cards or gift vouchers, unfortunately. I would go as far as saying I am friends with the guys at EVOMOTION. We have got a relationship, I would say. They have pulled me out of the mess a couple of times when I've made mistakes, that kind of thing. So Urban Arc Overland is much friends with EVOMOTION, but I pay for this stuff just as much as you guys do. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. I'm not trying to offer you something that I wouldn't pay my own hard-earned money for. Anyway, that's the administration. Carcass is fully built, minus the top. I'm going to put that on in place, I think. I'm going to put it in the hole now and see if it fits. Honestly, this is the first time. If it doesn't fit, it is on me, unfortunately, because it was my scrap paper schematics that created this little monster. So let's go ahead and put it in the hole. It's only thrown in the hole at the moment, guys. It's not screwed down or anything like that, but here it is. You can kind of get the gist of it. So the wheel arch is so far back on the Mercedes Sprinter, the new shape, front wheel drive, it leaves a 200mm gap, that's all. We started the design by having a door here, but it would be so skinny, it'd be pretty much worthless. So now we've got these cubby holes on end, ready for just stowing gear, nice and deep here. Stops the stuff falling out, quick access, electrical cables, hose pipes, ratchet straps, whatever you want. Maybe even some recovery gear, who knows. Could even screw a net to the backside of that to stop things falling out even more, who knows. But that's absolutely awesome. And then what we've got here is a space that I'm going to put my bullfinch shower and maybe a power socket there, because, and this is where it gets really good, that there, I decided to have a solid piece that's 125mm. Now the reason being is we're going to have a bike tray that pulls out here, and if that was a door frontal or a door face, it would have nowhere to go. The tracks and the slider and the drawer would be totally in the way. So that is absolutely awesome. Now this is really deep. This is 480mm deep by my design. I've designed it this way based on my layout. Power station up there. At the moment, spare cupboard, probably fuse box, that kind of thing. So power station, extra. You could get a whole Victron gear in there. That cubby hole there is for my water. I wanted the water lower than the electrics. If there ever was a leak, dare I say it, if the water was above the electrics, you know, and that is deeper, it probably would have worked out really well. You run the risk that obviously water travelling down, you've got a problem. So my electrics are above my water. That's not pessimistic, it's realistic. It's future proofing once again. But there it is. I'm absolutely stoked with its fit. I've just been cracking on, putting it in the hole. It's absolutely wicked. Totally trusted my own measurements the whole time. I didn't for 1 second think that it wouldn't fit. So I've hung the doors. I'm not going to show you that because, to be honest, if you can't screw a door hinge on, then probably this isn't for you. I'm sure that once upon a time these required a thinner screw. Makes me think, because I may have lost them in the past, put the wrong screw in there and actually cracked the back of that. Now I can't remember if that's fully true, but what I know is now it's just the same screws that you use for the little joiner KD blocks. Absolutely love these catches. So you basically got 4 screws that clamp the back side to the front side through there, and then you would have put your 2 little dowels in all lined up, and then you just screw that in place, and then that will catch on that. Absolutely love it, absolutely love it. Wicked. The reason I started that rant about these screws and stuff was probably actually to remind you to use a screwdriver and not a battery drill on that. Unless you're really super duper in control, you can actually fracture the plastic. So at that stage, just use a screwdriver. Absolutely awesome. Now, what John at Evo said to me during the design process is that pull-off panel that's going to hide all my plumbing at the bottom, he said is actually really quite stiff. And I literally had to like bang, so it clipped on. A bit like a bathroom panel, you know, behind the toilets. Don't know if you've seen them. You like clip it on and they really do take, you have to use like a suction pad to suck them off. Well, we've got 2 handle holes cut, so you can actually physically grab it and pull it off. I'm happy with it. I want it to be that stiff. Once the install is done, apart from a maintenance check, I hope to never have to go in there. So that's absolutely fine with me. And what it means is it won't actually rattle. If it was on a magnet or something like that, it could pop off. But I'm fine. I think that is absolutely spotty dog. I am so chuffed with it. And what I've done is I've left enough space at the top. If you wanted to, you could like slide some stuff on there, or tie some stuff down, or put some nets, screw some nets down from above, and then just slide items in, and then that'll be secured to the top via those nets. It's absolutely wicked. Now, I will admit it's a bit wider than you would probably choose, like a bit deeper, but that hides everything that side, absolutely everything. All my power, all my water. This side is going to be shallower, but it's just going to be storage, and that is it. Just open, put what you want in there, doesn't really matter. Or you could go without, just have one on one side. There is ample space. Got to be a bit creative with how you wire things in and how you know, how you arrange your pump and your expansion vessel if you're going down that road, but it's absolutely wicked. I'm going to have a clean up and take some good photos. Let me take you for a quick squiz. Time's running out, got to go pick my boy up, so I'll be back out in the morning. But here we are. I think it's absolutely wicked. I could never have achieved this in the amount of time I have today. So my Goal Zero is going to sit in there. There is space on the side if I wanted to screw any fuse holders or anything relating to that. But then I've also got this other cupboard here. Probably going to put my main fuse board on that back wall to the whole van, that kind of thing. But that can be used as storage. Whether or not I put a blanking plate, like blanking panel across there, and then you know, access that only when you need to, whatever. But also future proof, like I've said, if you ever wanted to go for the full Victron gear or other reputable brands, that there is plenty of space to install that. And likewise, I have thought far enough ahead. If I removed that center shelf there, that would house a Victron inverter because they're quite tall. So that sliver plus those two, absolutely future proof. Panel there, hoping to never have to get in there, but like I say, you can just pop that off. Hard to see in there, but all my waters is going to be in there. Going to get loud. That was a bit cack-handed. I'm surprised I didn't break that. I think it's absolutely wicked. Look at that. That's going to be absolutely mint. And then that one is going to be less, like a real shallow one. Big tray in the middle, comes out. Absolutely sweet. And for those of you who are wondering where the green is on the way. They didn't have any, but he wanted to get this unit out to me so that I could crack on. Really appreciate that. That's the kind of help that I've been receiving from EVOMOTION. Absolutely wicked. And for those of you that are saying, looks good without the green, don't be so rude. All right, it's a theme and I'm sticking with it. Right guys, that's pretty much it. Head over to EVOMOTION's website. Again, I'm not trying to sell their stuff. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. I just really hope it makes a difference to your build and how you create your finish. You can achieve a really professional finish, and that's what I love about that. I could eventually maybe get there using my tools, my setup, but honestly, I've been out here probably 3 hours, all the filming, building as well, taking phone calls, work phone calls, that kind of thing. I even had lunch in that space, and I've got that created. Screw it back, screw it down, start filling it up. Awesome, absolutely love it. Put a product link to the description when it's available. Again, this is a new product. I will put a link to the 906 version below, the garage under bed storage for the 906. Please listen to me. 906, what you click on down below will not fit the 907. It is the relevant product for the model before, but it gives you an idea of what it comes with and what it looks like. Thanks very much for watching. Please do subscribe, and I will see you next Tuesday.